Good afternoon, Manitoba female U18 AAA Hockey League fans, into a special release of the MFHL podcast. We don't really release this podcast on Mondays usually, but today I'm making an exception because, this year has been quite busy, quite strange, quite a lot to do that when you're going into it, you feel like you can manage things and then schedule kind of gets derailed. I guess that's one of the parts of trying to build and start up a business, right? And trying to make this functional. There's been a lot of just brainstorming on trying to, figure out different ways to monetize, make things more incentivizing for the viewers to be able to purchase our broadcast, not just giving you the stream and then, you've spent $5 or $7 on it. So even though we haven't been releasing podcasts consistently, that's something I'm hoping to change coming up in January and up until the end of this season and beyond while this company exists. And we got a lot of great stuff planned for this week and for 2026. Excited for this week of podcasting. We're 3 days away from Christmas, too, which is nuts to know that we're pretty much at the end of another calendar year. I hope that everyone is, going to have a wonderful and Merry Christmas. But we're going to have two episodes that are going to come out this week. And in this episode, we're going to show you an interview that I've done a few weeks ago at this point. Actually, I think the day that this team left for the Mandy Schwartz tournament, which we'll get into that next with Karrisa Kirkup, who is not only the Westman Wildcats coach, but also the Team Manitoba U18 Women's National coach, as she coached that squad back in the U18 National Tournament in Newfoundland and Labrador in early November. We're going to get into that and much more in today's edition of the MFHL podcast. But before we bring Karrisa on, we're going to show you where her Wildcats are in the standings. Heading into the winter break, they're sitting in third place by quite a good margin right now. Even though they have 2 games in hand on all teams behind them, they're up by 3 wins. So it's going to take a bit for these teams to catch Westman at this point. We'll show you how things end up going for this squad, as they didn't play yesterday, but they did play on Saturday night, where they took down the Central Plains Capitals by a score of 4-1. As for Westman and all the teams in the MFHL, there ended up being cancellations on Wednesday as well as on Friday due to the crazy storm that hit Manitoba. There were 2 games that ended up being played on Saturday, but the game in Morden between the Pembina Valley Hawks and the Interlake Lightning ended up being canceled. Hope that everyone ended up staying safe during the weekend and during the end of last week, when that crazy storm was affecting not just rural Manitoba, but even the city. Things were shutting down here in Winnipeg, which, sucked for our schedule, but happy they canceled things because would rather stay safe than, broadcast and, risk your life trying to get to the arena, right? But all in all, hope everyone was safe, and hope you all enjoy this edition of the MFHL podcast. Coming up next, Karrisa Kirkup joins the show.
It's the head coach of the Westman Wildcats. She was also the head coach of Team Manitoba's U18 national team, and Karrisa Kirkup joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Karrisa, what an experience it must have been for yourself and all the players, the rest of the coaching staff, getting to coach this year's Team Manitoba U18 national women's team, finishing 5th place at this year's tournament down in Newfoundland and Labrador. Take me through what that was like, that whole experience, getting to lead this group of young girls.
Yeah, I can't thank, Hockey Manitoba enough for that experience. I've been a part of that program on and off for since 2011, I guess, and I always take great pride in wearing that M and being a part of that organization. So I had a great experience. The coaching staff, all the way through all the players. It was just, yeah, everyone really came together. I was really proud. Obviously, the results help. That was the best finish that Team Manitoba's had in over a decade, and so. Just the way that they came together and stuck with each other through the adversity of a tournament like that. It is a long week, but yeah, I was pretty confident in that group of girls, and yeah, easy to lean on that coaching staff, and everybody was very competent and getting along, and so that really helps the experience. But nothing but great things to say for sure.
And of course, you had a chance to be an assistant coach on the team in 2024. So the year before, what was that like going into a bit of a different role? Of course, you've done a lot of head coaching before, but maybe not quite at that level.
Yeah, no, I was fortunate enough. I was the assistant coach in 2023 with Ashley Van Eglen and Maggie Litchfield Med. Going into the Canada Games there, we went out east again, and lucky enough, to go back there again in 2024 for nationals. Um, you know, I did learn a lot both of those years, and regardless of what level you're at, right, you have to be organized, you have to be prepared, and have a plan going in. Ultimately, it's up to the players to do the performance, but yeah, all 3 years I've had really great experiences, and it's obviously making me want to come back. So it's been awesome.
Like you mentioned, it was the best finish this program, this province has had, in the last decade, and a very talented group, but a unique tournament in the sense that there's not the same amount of prep time you'd have with your normal team. Of course, there's an exhibition series, and this team gets to gel a little bit. But take me through how, I guess, proud you were of this group of really talented hockey players to come together in such a short period of time to accomplish something like this.
Yeah, so this year we were lucky enough, to have some returning players and good leadership group. Um, Going from February, we did start it a little bit earlier this year. So February was top 68, and your 20 players are going to come from that group. So right away you do try to incorporate in some team building into those camps. From there, you go on to the June camp, which is top 40. You split the team into two groups of 20 and have a couple games along with some practices. And again, definitely some team building because you know that you're trying to build out your team from there. And Nationals really isn't that far away. You're kind of counting down the days at top 40. I think we had 9 or 10 days left together at that point, which seems minuscule for the magnitude of the tournament that you're about to go into. From there, you go to play against the University of Manitoba Bisons right before, well, I guess it was the first week this year after school started for 3 days. And so that really, you do carry a couple extra players, but that really does gauge in, increasing the pace of the game. And so the girls are somewhat adjusted to that pace heading into nationals and know a little bit more what to expect. And then, from there, really they're off with their teams, and yes, you do some touch points with meetings and things with the tech pack, but otherwise you're kind of just meeting at the airport that day that you're flying together, and then you're off. So wherever you can fit in a little bit of team bonding, wherever you can fit in some tech pack time or time for questions, then we do so. But yeah, everybody was just really, really good to work with and flexible, but also just brought their compete level, which was obviously appreciated.
This Team Manitoba team had gone 1-2 through the preliminary round, ended up drawing Team Atlantic, who was a finalist in this year's tournament. In the, I guess, quarterfinal matchup, a tough third period where this team ends up running into penalty trouble and blowing a lead. But going into that final game against Team BC, for this team to pull it out in overtime, take our viewers through it as well as myself in terms of what that journey was like and to see this team be able to rebound like they did.
Mm-hmm. I think for a big chunk of our team, that going into that Team Atlantic game was maybe one of the biggest games that they maybe been a part of in their careers, besides, big playoff games back at home in league play. And so the first little bit of that Team Atlantic game was definitely adjusting to those nerves. There was a bigger crowd because that was Team Atlantic's home. And it was a good game. The game of hockey, it can go either way. Those really, if we're looking at it, those are the best 20 players that they put together versus ours. And again, the game of hockey happened, but I'm super proud of, in reflection, of how we handled that. Yeah, it obviously in the end didn't go our way, but yeah, it was really neat to know that Atlantic made it to the finals, right? And then we were that close. So kudos to that group of girls, and how well they played, for sure. Heading into Team BC, we knew we still had a job to do. That was for the fifth place game. And again, what a great experience. They seem to have a few younger players, and there I did recognize definitely some names from last year too. And again, just very proud of how our goaltending all the way through our forwards, how they performed and got the job done. And we ended up kind of being best in the West. That's what we ended up saying in the end. So
Yeah, and fantastic to see that and to know that this team was able to, in all the contexts, finish as the best Manitoba team in a while in the past decade. And of course, since then, you've been back behind the bench with the Westman Wildcats, this team having a pretty positive month in November. They've now gone up to third place in the league. Started off December with a split 4-2 win against the Avs, and then a tough 3-0 loss against the Eastman Selects. But yeah, take me through what this year's been like so far from that perspective. Of course, you had a chance to get your first and taste of what this league was about last year, coaching Brandon this year now behind the Westman bench.
hmm yeah, thanks. So just kind of wrapping up that Team Manitoba experience, there's obviously been a lot of really great teams in the past, and so I wish them the best of luck going forward. I think the next one, right, going into the Canada Winter Games, that's going to be really exciting, 2027 in Quebec City. And so yeah, there's lots of good hockey players that are coming out of Manitoba, and it's exciting, definitely, for the future, for sure. Coming back to Westman, yeah, again, it's kind of a full circle moment. This is where I played from 2009, from grade 9 to 12, and it's been, yeah, such an honor to be back on that bench. We have a really, really great group of girls that we're working with. I'm very proud of, how hard they work. We have to travel a lot for our practices and for home games, let alone away games. And yeah, it's been a great season so far. It's crazy to think about. Our last league game is February 7th, so we really only have 2 months left. Our team is gearing up to head to a tournament this weekend at Notre Dame, and the Mandy Schwartz tournament. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting rest of the season. The league is so tight, as you can see, those top two teams, and then there's really only a few points separating the rest of the teams. So you have to come to play every single night.
Oh, no doubt about it. And it's great to see how things continue to tighten up this year in the standings. And of course, I mean, for this team this year, a great group of girls, like you mentioned, a very talented team, and a team that's kind of combining from the Brandon squad last year to the Westman squad this year. Of course, a few new additions outside of that, but yeah, what's that dynamic been like of this year's group of girls just gelling together in that way, going from rivals to teammates?
Right. I think there's a lot of connections outside of hockey, which has helped a lot. There's a lot of really multi-sport athletes, so they play some ball together, and so they do know each other outside of the rink, which is definitely helpful. I would say our leadership group is amazing. Those three, Ivy Perkin, Charlie Shearer, as well as Cadence Mann. Those three kind of set the tone of how they want practices and how they want to enter into games and that compete level, but altered with, that respect level as well. And I know I can lean on them, but all the way through our lineup, goaltending, defense, our core is very young, but you can lean on them and they're competitive and they want to be in those big situations. So yeah, we're very lucky as a coaching staff. It's really gelled well, and I'm excited for the next couple months.
Yeah, and it's been fun being able to see this team elevate their play as the season's gone along. We've covered a few of this team's games now, and our most recent one was, of course, against Eastman, but the one before that was against Eastman as well, and this team competed with them right until the very end, going into a shootout. But Ivy Perkin, points leader in the league, leads this Wildcats team in every major offensive statistical category. You had a chance to coach her on Team Manitoba this year. What's that been like getting to know Ivy Perkin and getting to watch her do her thing?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a joy to watch her stick's like a magnet out there. So it's yeah, the puck seems to always be on her stick, and I think that's a lot of her leadership style is definitely a role model and just lead by example type. She is quieter off the ice a little bit, but I know that she, does her thing in the room. She gets along with everybody, and that's where a big piece of our leadership comes from. I think a crazy stat is she's been on about 78% of our goals, which is no surprise. She is very offensive, but one of my favorite parts of her game is her explosive speed as well as her ability to see the ice and use her teammates and definitely share the puck. So she's definitely got a bright future, and U of R is lucky to have her next year.
Yeah, she's been a treat to watch this year every time we've had the pleasure of covering this team. And yeah, no surprise that she's been kind of running away with the points race so far, as well as leading this league in goals. But as you mentioned, she's accounted for a lot of the goals. This is a team with a lot of talent around her that maybe hasn't quite been able to get hot to the point where they're, finding their stride and scoring consistently. So, what would be, I guess, the goal to try to get more offense from outside of that top line to try to get other girls going as the season goes along?
Hmm. Yeah, if you know the secret to scoring in any team, feel free to share it. I think that's something that we are always working on, that teams in our league are always working on. What I'm super focused on and what our coaching staff is super focused on is team play, defensive hockey, doing the right things, making the right play when it's there to be made. And our team is, building towards something special towards the end of the year. And so I think it's exciting to watch because we're well on our way, I believe, then, just in comparison to how we were playing at the start of the year. It's not necessarily about all the results at this point and points and all that. Yes, it's a nice side effect to playing well, but I think the majority of our team has been consistently playing well, and that's what we're looking for is that work ethic, game in and game out, and that's what's going to get us the results at the end of the year. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Focusing on the end goal, which for this team, of course, is going to come in the playoffs. And for us here, we were pretty high on this team heading into the season, had them second ranked in our preseason rankings. So looking forward to what's to come coming up in the latter half of the season, the once playoffs come. But in terms of what's to come for this team, of course, heading down to Saskatchewan to compete in the Mandy Schwartz tournament, and then coming back home and finishing off with a few games left on the schedule for 2025. What's going to be I guess, goal, the preparation for this week coming up? I know a long bus trip is on the way soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're hoping to leave a little earlier today just because we just got a bunch of snow out here. I think 15 centimeters yesterday. So busy shoveling the driveway last night and this morning. But yeah, there's been lots of prep work going into this weekend. The players are excited because, just I know that there's always recruitment opportunities during league games and exhibition games and regardless of the tournament, but this is just an exciting tournament. I attended this tournament as a player for 4 years, and yeah, it's just there's such a history with the Notre Dame Hounds, and yeah, they're super excited to get going. We have a rematch actually against the Edmonton Junior Oilers at Thursday, and we played them in Calgary at the beginning of the year. And then we play against Regina, which we actually have a matchup against them again in January. And then we'll see Swift Current Wildcats. So the rest of the tournament definitely depends on how we do. But yeah, we're going to get to see some alumni Wildcats through a tour that we're doing out there. And it's just all about learning. Again, our average age of our crew is super young in comparison to some. But yeah, we our grade 12s are all committed, which we're super proud of, and then the grade 11s are next, and we have some great players coming up. So we're excited to see where their journeys are going to take them starting this weekend.
And exciting to hear that the Wildcats putting this together during this tournament, different things for this team to see and do, and get to learn more about the history of their program and where those players have gone off to. Karrisa Kirkup, head coach of the Westman Wildcats, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Thanks for joining me, and safe travels out there to Saskatchewan. Eh?
Thank you very much.
And Karrisa Kirkup joining this edition of the MFHL podcast, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, Goaltenders, Movement, Fitness and Performance, and Elite Prospects. We'll get to how the Wildcats did in the Mandy Schwartz Memorial Tournament in just a moment here, as well as the other teams that competed from the MFHL. We're also going to get into some power rankings, as well as showing you the stats leaders from around the league here. And yeah, showing you the standings once again, different statistics, whatnot. If you want to check out the full statistics for yourself more in depth, be sure to check out the MFHL's website at mfhlu18AAA.com. We're going to throw it to a commercial break from Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and then hopefully we continue to carry along here, because I didn't mention this, but a lot of software issues lately when running podcasts specifically. I'm not too sure why, but hopefully it keeps going well for us, for myself, and yeah, we can finish off this episode strong here. It's episode 10, season 3 of the MFHL podcast here on gshow Productions.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central.
Welcome back to the MFHL podcast, season 3, episode 10. Quite a busy, well, not busy actually. I think the right word to use is quite a hectic weekend in the MFHL. In terms of just what ended up transpiring, which was the cancellation of games due to inclement weather. Last Wednesday's game between the Abers and Lightning got canceled, as well as all games on Friday night in the league, and Pembina Valley and Interlakes games got canceled as well, or I guess their game on Saturday night. Luckily, all games were able to go on Sunday, which was yesterday in the league. So we take a look, 3 games in total, 6 teams in action. We had one of the games broadcasted on our network, Selects and Lightning, as the Selects came away with a big 6-1 victory. They've now won 8 straight games. As for the Winnipeg Ice, well, seems like they finally figured out Pembina Valley and came away with a big-time victory. 2 goals for Cassie Carvalho, 2 goals for Callie Adams, and a hat trick for Sophie Wazdusensky in the victory. And look at the Central Plains Capitals ending off their 2025 portion of the schedule strong with a 3-0 victory over the Yellowhead Chiefs. As for Central Plains after that victory, they're now tied with the Yellowhead Chiefs and Winnipeg Abros for 4th place in the MFHL. There's a bit of a gap from 4th to 3rd, and then quite a huge gap from 1st and 2nd to 3rd place, as we can see there. But as for the week before in the MFHL, there was only a few games that got played throughout that week and weekend, and that was because of, well, teams in the MFHL going out to Saskatchewan to compete in the Mandy Schwartz tournament. Not every single team did this. The Winnipeg Ice, the Pembina Valley Hawks, Interlake Lightning, and Central Plains Capitals all stayed home. But as for the rest of the teams in the MFHL, the Avros, the Selects, as well as the Westman Wildcats, they took a trip out to Saskatchewan to compete in a tournament. I'm pretty sure there was elimination. I'm just a bit confused on how they ended up determining things. But as we can see here, the Wildcats, I think for them, outside of the play, like, it wasn't the greatest results they had, right? Like, they went winless throughout the preliminary play, and when you take a look at just elimination, right, Westman isn't shown there in the top whatever teams. I'm not sure what the exact number here is, but that's a lot of teams on the board, right? But I think for them specifically, like Karrisa was talking about, just the experience of getting to check out the U of R's facilities, get to watch college hockey, and, get to hear from players that used to play for the program. I think that in itself was a huge learning experience for a team that has only gotten better as the season's gone along, right? They're now up to 3rd place in the MFHL by what I mentioned, a pretty good margin. But in terms of the other teams that competed in the MFHL, as we take a look at the Winnipeg Avros, they went 1-2 through preliminary play. As for the Eastman Selects, so many different pools here. They finished atop of their pool, but elimination didn't go as well for them, as they went 0-2 actually, which it's rare to see the Eastman Selects lose one game, let alone a few in a weekend for that squad. But yeah, experience for these teams, these 3, to go out and play against different competition, high-level competition, and, who knows, maybe for Eastman, for example, if they were able to win the league, hypothetically, maybe they matched up with a team like the Battleford Sharks, right, for example, hypothetically. So, yeah, interesting to see how the MFHL stacked up against teams from Saskatchewan, from Alberta. As for the Avros, going 1-1 in elimination play. So, for a team that a few years ago went to the Mandy Schwartz Memorial Tournament, the season didn't pan out so well afterwards. But, of course, the Avros looking to build off that weekend successfully this time around, which I'd say their first step doing that well on Saturday to finish off their 2025 portion of the MFHL schedule. Going to Shoal Lake, one of the toughest places to play in the MFHL, and coming away with a 5-3 victory. As for Yellowhead, they fell 3-0 as mentioned yesterday on Sunday against the Central Plains Capitals, which, of course, keeps them in a tie for fourth place with the Avros and the Caps. Yellowhead had a chance to not only be a win above both of these teams, but maybe even potentially two if they were able to come away with that one against the Avros. But it wasn't meant to be, and with that, well, we take a look at the power rankings on how they're updated, and a few things have changed. We'll start off with, I guess, the top three staying the way they have. As for the Eastman selects, I feel like, given that they've won 8 straight games, this team is playing exceptional hockey on both ends of the ice right now. Most goals for in the league, as well as the least goals given up. You got to give them number one and keep them there right now as we had them there last time. As for the Winnipeg Ice, coming off of, well, their biggest offensive victory of the year, biggest offensive output against the Pembina Valley Hawks, a team that's played them pretty tough through their first few matchups of the season. But yeah, the Winnipeg Ice, not quite on the level in my opinion in terms of the numbers with the Eastman Selects, but still right there with them, and the only team to not only beat Eastman this year, but to do it twice. As for the Westman Wildcats, they remain where they remain. Having a pretty strong weekend for themselves. You like to see that bounce back from them after, a bit of a tough weekend results-wise down in Saskatchewan. But this is a team that's been finding their stride more and more as the season has gone along. And as we talked about, me and Karrisa Kirkup, she feels that this team has a lot of potential. And, given that they're third place and there's still a lot more season left to go, although there isn't at the same time, given that playoffs start in February. This team still has a month to get better moving forward, and yeah, led by the best player in the league right now in Ivy Perkin, and getting good goaltending as well from a player like Indigo Stone. Most notably, Shannon Hees has also been good in the game she's played in. As for the teams in 4, 5, and 6, I believe shouldn't have an arrow there for the Avers. I believe they were 5th last time. Or no, they were supposed to have an arrow up as they moved up one spot compared to the Yellowhead Chiefs. The reason for that is while they were able to defeat Yellowhead, and Yellowhead compared to the Avros and the Capitals, I know that the Avros were on bit of a losing streak heading into this past weekend, but Yellowhead came out of this weekend still on a 3-game losing streak, so that's why I dropped them down to 6th. And then for the Caps, right, that huge win against Yellowhead, and they've most recently had a big win in their past 5 games against Westman Wildcats. Sure, they lost to the Winnipeg Avros, but I like their play more consistently throughout these past 5 games compared to Winnipeg, which is 1-4 in their past 5, right? As for Pembina Valley, keeping them in 7th place, not dropping them, but yeah, doing themselves no favors in terms of trying to rise up these power rankings by losing 11-1 to close out 2025 against the Winnipeg Ice. But at the end of the day, these are just power rankings just for fun, and it is a fluid list, so or fluent, whatever the word may be, it is subject to change. We'll see how this Pembina Valley Hawks squad will fare in their upcoming matchup, which, well, once we return to play, we'll see them take on the Eastman Selects. The Winnipeg Avros take on the Yellowhead Chiefs in the return to play on the 3rd on the Saturday, and then the Ice taking on the Caps, which that should be an intriguing matchup to see how Central Plains will match up against a top 2 team in the league. And then there's only 2 games on the Sunday, Ice Chiefs and Caps taking on the Avros. So Winnipeg team going out to Portage to take on the Capitals in that game. Should be a lot of fun. And, well, as for get into that in just a moment, I guess. As for these players, they've had a lot of fun this season putting up the points they have. Delaney Rigaud is now up to 26 points. Her and her teammate Emily Carrier, both top 3 in points, both over a point per game. All players in this top 5 are U of M commit And Brea Kapusta rounds out this list with 20 points in 17 games played. She's been a really nice addition to this year's average team, as I've said many times before, but no one's had themselves quite a season like Ivy Perkins so far this year. 19 games played, 36 points, second in the league in goals, and leads the league in assists by quite a big margin right now, 22, as we can see there in 19 games played, which, yeah, she's an excellent passer, but can also put the puck in the net at a high level. As for these goaltenders in the top 5, decided to show you the rankings by goals against average. I usually don't do that, but I thought, why not for this one have a bit of fun, since this is the second last episode of the 2025 portion of the season. But even outside of goals against average, like, all the stats indicate that Addison Tomes has been the best goaltender in the league so far this year. 4 shutouts, which the only player that has as much as that as her teammate in Isabelle Labossiere. But yeah, for both of those goaltenders, having that conversation with Trevor Hildebrand, and I think he hit the nail right on the head. Even if you're able to find a way to create chances in the Eastman zone and find a way to get their defensive structure out of position and to beat it, you have to go through not only one but 2 potential really good goaltenders, all world goaltenders. When you take a look at last year, like I always like to bring this up because I found it was really impressive, but Addison Tomes was looking like she was going to run away with goaltender of the year. She goes down due to an unfortunate injury, and then the rookie in Isabelle Labossiere steps up and puts up spectacular numbers, so much so that she gets recognized in the end for goaltender of the year. There's a big reason why Eastman's won 8 in a row, and it's not only been because of the contributions from players like Delaney Rigaud, Emily Carrier, other players from this very deep team, but also because of how they've been backstopped by the best duo in the MFHL this season. Even though Gina Plett and Isla Matthews are making a pretty good case for themselves so far this year with the numbers they've put up, Indigo Stone rounds out the top 5 in goals against average, toggled by that. But yeah, outside of the goals against numbers, these 5 goaltenders have been really, really good this season. As for the Week 11 awards for not this past week, but the week before at this point, congratulations to Ella Victor for winning Defense of the Week, Tegan Bragg for winning Forward of the Week, and Gina Plett for winning another Goaltender of the Week award. You can see the write-ups there, as well as you can check these out on MFHLU18AAA.com if you want to read all of them for yourselves. They're on the front page of the MFHL's website, and yeah, you can also check out when the upcoming games are coming up. Can't wait for the 3 that are going to be coming up on Saturday, as well as the 2 on the Sunday. We'll have 2 of those games, rumor has it, on the schedule, and can't wait for that. We're going to throw it to another commercial break by Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and then I'll be back for, I guess, some final words on this edition of the MFHL podcast.
Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back to this edition of the MFHL Podcast, Season 3, Episode 10. Karrisa Kirkup joining this edition of the show. It was great to get a chance to speak with Westman's bench boss, and I want to hit on a point that was brought up, and I asked her a question about just the team's offense, when teams really start to zero in and, say, limit Ivy Perkin in a playoff series, right? Who's going to step up? Because when you take a look at the points discrepancy right now, Ivy's got 36 points. The next best player on her team is Ivy Fry with 12. But that's just points. When we're talking about goals, Ivy's at 14. Ivy Fry is at 8, which is top 2. And then after that, there's a drop off to Peyton Smith at 4. I think what is good, though, is that all players on this team, except for 3 out front, have scored a goal. And like Karrisa said, even though this team, I think, is more experienced compared to last year's Westman team, and they've been able to benefit from some additions from last year's Brandon squad, it is still, a young core heading into the season, led by some really good veteran players, all-world players like Ivy Perkin and Ivy Fry. And I think for Westman, right, like, they've been able to skate with some of the best teams in the MFHL this year. Heck, they ended up scoring 5 goals on the Eastman Selects, even though Ivy Perkin had 5 points in that game, and Eastman did a better job game planning for her in the next. But if this Westman Wildcats team is able to get more scoring from outside of that top line, this team, they got a really good goaltender in Indigo Stone. Shannon Hees, her numbers, although not spectacular, she's under 500 with a 2-4 record. But she has had a shutout so far this year and is at an 8.96 save percentage, so very close to 900. This Westman team is going to be very intriguing, and I just want to say I meant no disrespect to their team by saying that I don't think anyone else on this team can score outside of that top line. It's just, you look at the stats right now, it's very clear that one player in particular, Ivy Perkin, alongside with Ivy Fry, those are the 2 main players driving the bus, but mainly Ivy right now by the stats, and they back up what I've been saying at this point throughout these past 2 minutes. But as for Westman, I mean, once this team is able to get more scoring from throughout the lineup, like, look out, they're already 3rd place, and could be a sneaky challenger to one of those top 2 teams if it plays out and Westman meets one of them in the semifinals come playoff time. But I'm excited for Wednesday's show. MFHL fans, actually not Wednesday because that's going to be Christmas Eve. Well, maybe Wednesday. At least in the next 2 days, you're going to see another edition of the MFHL podcast where we're going to do something similar to the season preview, where we're going to go through each team with the team graphic. But what we're going to be doing in that one, it's kind of going to be like a mid-season check-in on our predictions from the start of the season, how some of those may change at this point in terms of like who our championship pick is, what we think the standings are going to play out as. I know that I've missed on a few things so far, which it's going to be exciting to go through. And also going to go through like individual player picks for awards, how far off are we on those, which ones have we gotten right, and who knows, maybe we do something fun in terms of like, I don't know, I have to do some sort of like playful punishment or something, like if I have a prediction way off. We'll see what's in store for that episode, but not only is that episode going to contain that, but it's going to contain 2 guests, which I won't say their names because I feel like when I usually say guest names, something goes awry and then they're not on the next episode. So I'm really excited for these 2 guests, and we're going to keep them a secret for now. I will give one hint. They're 2 really big factors on their respective teams, and really looking forward to you guys being able to see the interviews with them. But before I let you go, if this is your last time watching the MFHL podcast for this year, I want to thank you for your support. I know that it's Christmas in about 3 days at this point. Holiday season it wasn't upon us, last week. It's officially upon us now. I mean, you can make an argument it's been officially upon us since even maybe November, right? I'm not really sure how you keep track of when, you start celebrating the holidays. But for those who have and continue to, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those who celebrate that holiday. I know that me and my family, it's going to be a blast this year, as it always is. I hope you all have a wonderful New Year's Eve and a wonderful New Year ahead in 2026. And I want to let you all in on something that you can take advantage of right now with the MFHL. Before I let you go, in terms of the streams, we have most of our streams available still on Uscreen for you to be able to purchase. All live streams that we did this past month, the games are available from $5. We may be keeping it at $5 for the rest of the year, but I'm not too sure yet. But yeah, all available on our Uscreen service under the MFHL section. And I want to let you all in on this. I brought it up before, but if you didn't know, the code is in the description of this episode, but yeah, basically it's refer a friend, and if you refer a friend successfully, so say, I don't know, you refer your best friend, for example, to buy a month or a year's subscription with us out of our MFHL, Winnipeg High School Hockey League, or All Access plans, then you would get 30 days free for yourself, and that wouldn't be limited to only that referral. So say you did this 8 times, you get basically 30 days free 8 times. It's something to consider. Must sign up to be eligible to be able to do this. But yeah, what better way to be able to support the MFHL is proceeds from whatever goes to the All Access or the MFHL subscriptions, whether it's monthly or yearly, portion of that goes back to the MFHL to help support that league and, to help support us in our mission of trying to help more kids play this wonderful game. And yeah, you literally get to support the MFHL while watching content for free at the end of the day if you successfully refer enough people, which could be worth it. Just something to think about. But yeah, excited for what's to come this week. We got one last hockey game to produce tomorrow night. The St. Vital Victoria is taking on the Pembina Valley Twisters in the MMJHL. We're going to end off this year, right, with another edition of the MFHL podcast coming out in the next 2 days. It's going to be a blast, and I can't wait for it, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in episode 11 for season 3 for one final podcast coming out this week.